In The Sopranos, we follow the boss of New Jersey, Tony Soprano, in his day-to-day life, tackling all the trials and tribulations life throws at him as head of a mob family and head of a household. Throughout the show, there are numerous plot threads, like Uncle Junior's RICO trial, the volatile Richie Aprile making a move against Tony, and that animal Blundetto murdering an innocent 40-year-old kid. Many of these plots are wrapped up nicely in the show, but others are left open with their conclusions up for the viewer to decide. Like, for example, what happened to the Russian in Pine Barrens? Will Silvio ever wake up from his coma? How long did Phil Leotardo do in the can? What happened to Furio? And of course, who killed Tony Soprano at the end of the show, if he did indeed die? I've tackled many of these mysteries on the channel and plan to take a look at more, so subscribe if you haven't already done so and hit the notification bell to stay up to date. One of the big unanswered questions of The Sopranos is whether Ralph Cifaretto really did kill the horse Pyomai. Ralph is an intelligent, cunning and unhinged capo of Tony's glorified crew, and Pyomai is a racehorse he owns. Ralph is indifferent to the horse, seeing it as a cash machine, instructing the trainer that the jockey shouldn't be shy with the whip. Tony, on the other hand, who has a thing for animals anyway, becomes very attached to the horse, referring to it as our girl. Still though, Tony is happy to take a large cut of Pyomai's winnings from Ralph, adding to the friction between the two. Ralph becomes irritated at the vet fees for the horse, and at one point refuses to take action when the horse becomes sick during the night, leading Tony to rush to the stables to sort out the hullabaloo. Later, Ralph is beside himself with grief after his son is rushed to the hospital after an accident, with him possibly having brain damage. Ralph makes a point to Tony that the medical bills will be tough, and in the same conversation, Tony informs Ralph that he is sleeping with Ralph's ex-girlfriend. In the same episode, Pyomai dies after a stable fire, which was deemed accidental by the fire department. However, Tony believes Ralph had the fire set intentionally to collect the $200,000 insurance policy on the horse. Tony goes to Ralph's house to inform him of Pyomai's death, and insinuates that Ralph had something to do with it. Ralph seems more concerned about his son's condition and telling Tony about it, but Tony keeps steering the conversation back to the horse. Ralph denies he has anything to do with it. The two get heated and then physical, leading Tony to choke out Ralph, killing him. So did Ralph actually kill the horse? The show never tells us, leaving it to the viewers to decide. So let's take a look at some of the arguments for and some against the idea he actually killed the horse, and see if we can come to some sort of conclusion. So of course, he was the highest earner in the family, but had commented to the financial strain his son's condition would put on him. So there is obviously an incentive there for Ralph to kill the horse for the insurance money. It's not as if he had any sentimental value for it. It was also a chance for some petty revenge against Tony, who he doesn't like anyway, as Tony just recently told him he's sleeping with his ex. The horse was getting sick, so on top of his boy's medication, he'd need to pay for Pyomai, and much of the earnings from the horse was going to Tony anyway. As Ralph said, you can't argue with the logic. Ralph is also foreshadowed as an arsonist all the way back in his first appearance, where he has Albert's trucks torched, and he is emphatically told by Tony, no more fires. With that being said, the stars may have aligned, so to speak, but this could be all circumstantial. Just because he had the motivation doesn't mean he did it. Is he really in the mood to be scheming about stable fires when his son is in the hospital? That's the way you'd maybe see it based on Ralph's reaction with Tony anyway. As he of course gets very angry, Tony keeps talking about the horse. Tony always needs to blame someone. It isn't enough that a tragic accident happened and that's that. No, someone has to be the target of his frustration and venting. Perhaps when he beefed with Ralph and attacked him, he wasn't just thinking about the horse, but the girl Ralph beat to death, and a whole lot of other things. Ralph was in the process of changing, it seemed. At the very least, he was having second thoughts about the life he lived and the decisions he had made, something I've talked about a lot in a video called Why You're Wrong about Ralph Cifaretto. For what it's worth, actor Joe Pantoliano said he played the scene as if Ralph didn't kill the horse, whereas Sopranos creator David Chase quite bluntly said on the Talking Sopranos podcast that Ralph did indeed kill the horse. You as the viewer don't have to necessarily take his word for it, of course, but that is the opinion of the man who created The Sopranos. Because it could really go either way based on Ralph and Tony's final scene. Everything from the acting to the dialogue is completely split down the middle. Nothing is given away. It all works if you think Ralph did it. It all works if you think he didn't. It's like when Ralph shouts, "So what? It was a fucking animal." If you think Ralph did do it, this could almost be an admission, a slip from Ralph, where he is essentially saying, nothing has been lost from the horse. We've gained 200 grand. Be happy. If you think Ralph didn't do it, this could be interpreted as Ralph venting his frustration about Tony going on about the horse when all he can think about is his kid in the hospital. It is truly some fantastic dialogue. If you think Ralph didn't do it, I want you to listen to Ralph's little monologue with the mindset that he did do it. And vice versa, if you think he did do it, listen to this thinking that he didn't. And it's great how it works both ways.
But so what? So what? It was a fucking animal! 100 grand apiece! My kid's in the fucking hospital! I don't hear you complaining when I bring you a nice fat envelope. You don't give a shit where that comes from. Don't give me that look. It was a fucking horse! What are you, a vegetarian? You eat beef and sausage by the fucking carload.
And then Tony of course hits him. Ralph just keeps on going and going, trying to give more reasons and excuses why it would be okay if he had killed the horse, which makes him look guilty. After all, why go on and on if you're innocent? Methinks the mobster doth protest too much. But on the other hand, it makes sense that someone under the pressure he is currently under, with his kid and all, would find it insulting the way Tony waltzes into his house moaning about a horse, and he brings up Tony's hypocrisy in regards to meat, and just unleashes all of the frustration he is currently under on Tony, unable to control his mouth as Ralph is famous for. When Ralph says, "So what?" it's telling. Plus, after he says the line about the envelope, there's a small pause, with Ralph then saying, "Don't give me that look." Ralph blinked first here. Tony's relentless pressure and gravitas seemingly made something in Ralph's demeanour slip, which resulted in an unspoken look between the two, confirming Ralph did kill the horse. If anything, Ralph seems intent on getting Tony to see the benefit of what he's done, without going too far as to admit he actually did it, as that will of course set Tony off, and he seems unable to comprehend why Tony is having such a hard time of getting past the horse's death. Tony didn't even indicate that the fire was intentional. He says the fire department said it looked like an accident, but then Ralph says, "What kind of sick fuck would do something like that on purpose, huh?" Nobody indicated there was human involvement, but Ralph brought it up, and this may have been the clue Tony needed. There's also little things here and there that could tip you one way or another, like the close-up of Ralph cooking the eggs with the fire, which may have been symbolism for Ralph cooking the horse with fire. If you want my take, I think it makes more sense for Ralph to have killed the horse. I think that is what happened, but I prefer Ralph having nothing to do with it. I think there's a greater irony there, that of all the things Ralph has done, the one thing he is eventually killed for is the one thing he didn't actually do. I also think it links better with the religious elements of this episode, which I talk about a lot more in the other video, with Ralph having to take on this punishment of death so his son is saved. Like I talk about a lot in the other vid, there is a lot of devil symbolism in this episode. And if we all go abstract for a second, maybe the goat that stayed with Pyomai and somehow survived, the goat being a sign of the devil, maybe the goat did it. Maybe it was an evil goat, a devil goat, and Ralph took the blame for its shenanigans, which resulted in Ralph's redemption arc being cut short via misplaced blame. That would make Ralph a scapegoat. Get it? Or maybe we're all actually just barking up the wrong tree, and it was actually Paulie, as revenge for the phone call Ralph made to Paulie's mother. It could explain Paulie's weird obsession with the horse painting, with him seeing it as some kind of maybe a hunting trophy from his Machiavellian scheme, which was intended to only burn Ralph, but ended up actually killing him. So what do you think? Do you think Ralph did kill the horse, or do you think the poor guy is innocent? Let me know in the comments below, and thanks for watching.